So I'm going to just go right from it. What do you do when life reveals a different road? Anybody experiencing that right now? Anybody experiencing life just showing them a different road, or maybe a different place to live, or maybe a different career to have, or maybe a different person to be married to? What do you do when... That's not my problem, by the way. No, he's on a plane right now. He's on his way back. So, what do you do when life presents you with a different road? And let's not be confused here. Life is always presenting us a different road. At every single moment, we choose to stay where we are. We choose to continue doing what we're doing. We choose to be with the people we are with. We are making choices, consciously or unconsciously. And let's not be confused, too, that life is always showing us many different roads to travel. So the next question I have for you is, how easy is it for you to change direction? How easy is it for you to find out that this is the wrong road? How quickly do you say, oops, let me get to this road? Just like that, very kind of gay like that. How easy is it not to, I don't mean to make anybody who's gay feel like that's what you have to do. So, how easy is it for you? You can if you want to, though, Doug. You really can. Again, it's choice. You get to decide how you move. You get to decide which road you go to and how you get there. So, how easy is it for you? And I want you to really answer that this morning. How rigid are you? How stuck are you in your choices? How convinced are you that your choices are 100% absolutely right? I'm not saying that we shouldn't be convinced, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't be certain and absolutely sure, and yet there must always be room in our minds for possibility of being wrong. There's always got to be, and not even wrong, that there's a better choice. Or not even better. My God, I'm just going to rewrite this whole talk as I go along. Not even better, but different. And different doesn't mean better. It might mean just something different. How about that? So, what is it that determines which is your road? What do you use? What criteria do you use to determine the choices you make in life? And do you believe, as it says in this song, that God is with you all the way? That God is with you, that you, as God must be with you at all times, no matter where you go, no matter what road you are on, which would say to me that it doesn't matter what road I happen to be on, it's the right road in this moment. But is it the right road for this moment? Well, I think we spend so much of our time defaming the road we're on when we decide it's wrong that we never get to the right one. We just stay on the wrong one complaining. Anyone find that out? We did one day of no complaining during CPR this week, and it was amazing to me that the people really did have a lot of challenge, but some of the people have done boot camp before then. They were like, wow, one day of complaining, that's nothing. Try a week. And I'm like, try a life. This is supposed to be, try it for a day, do it for a week, do it for life. Stop complaining, because complaining keeps you on a road that is not serving you very well. And our job in life is to find out, what does life have to offer me? What is here to be offered? So, do you or do you not believe that God is with you all the way? Or are there places that you go where God seems to be missing? I know that there have been times in my life when I really believed God was on a break. Do you ever feel that? It's like, God must be on a break because this really sucks. Am I the only one? No, right? We've all had that experience. But when you start realizing there's no such thing as God being on a break. However, there is such a thing as you taking a break from God. That's the difference. How often do you take a break from what you know? How often do you take a break from what you spiritually know? How often do you take a break from what you absolutely divinely are guided to know? It's not possible for God to take the break. And yes, I know I am free to know whatever I want to know. The title of my talk today is, what do you know? And that's what I want you to ask yourself today. What do you know? Someone had sent me this, and I've used it on CPR, but I decided about a week ago I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to just read it for everybody, and it's this. It's the story of the bumblebee. So those of you on CPR have heard this. Aerodynamically, the bumblebee shouldn't be able to fly. Its body is built in a way that argues the possibility of it being able to take off. But the bumblebee doesn't know this, so it just does. It just does what it was built to do. Now think about the bumblebee. It's got these two little wings and this enormous trunk, right? And yet it just flies. Now I want you to think about your life. Where in your life are you built that way? Where in your life are you built in such a way that you have this enormous thing going on, and you think, all I have are these two little wings. There's no way I'm going anywhere. Where in your life are you doing what the bumblebee doesn't do? You are listening to what others are telling you. You're listening to what you're telling yourself. You're buying into a philosophy and a reality that doesn't need to be bought into. How many times have you done something in your life because you didn't know you couldn't do it? Let me say that again, make sure I said it right. How many times have you done something in your life because you didn't know you couldn't do it? The other day we were at the theater, and the set that's been built for the Red Room is just so spectacular. But the top level doesn't have a railing on it. And I got up there, and I was standing there doing something, and my legs got all shaky, and I was like, wow, this is scary up here. And I was like, wait a minute. A few years ago, I walked on a tightrope across from here to there without even really thinking much about falling. I was like, what happened? What do you know now that you didn't know then? I'm still working on that. Because my body innately knows it's high, I could fall. And yet Luke Moyer, our lighting designer, I will mention to him that some light needs refocusing, and he climbs out over the grid, holding one hand, fixes it, goes back. I'm like, doesn't that scare you? He goes, nah, I know I can do it. I know I can do it. So the question today really has to be, are you willing to be a bumblebee, or do you really, must you really grow wings like an eagle in order to fly? Because not a lot of people are going to grow wings like an eagle. A lot of people are going to look in the mirror and see a bumblebee. The question is, are you willing to see the bumblebee and still believe you can fly? To see the bumblebee and be okay with the bumblebee and say, I love that trunk. I love my girth. And let me tell you something. When I fly this girth around, it shows how much belief I have. There's a philosophy, there's a mindset, there's a way, and there is someone who can say what they know. So, how many of us wonder who thought it was a good idea to make something in our lives the way it's been made? How many of us look at our lives and say, oh my God, why is that there? And yet, I think it's time for us to really, really look at whatever's in our lives and say, that's there for a reason. So the talk title is, well, what do you know? And I want to give you some basic science of mind. Ernest Holmes wrote, we have a conscious mind which operates within a creative field, which is creative. We have a conscious mind which operates within a creative field, which is creative, and that creative field is subjective, the subjective mind. We have a conscious mind which operates within a subjective field, which is creative. So the translation is, my thought creates my experience. However, on further analysis, it's not really my thought creates my experience, is it? No, if that were true, I would really be living a schizophrenic life. And every thought I had, I'd be like my mother, my daughter, my mother, my daughter, all over the place. But I don't do that often. I don't. Most of the time, I know what I believe. So what I'm looking at is filtered and seen through what I believe, because the truth is, my belief creates my thought, which creates my experience. I think the way I think because of the way I believe. I think the way I think because of what I know. So the question today is, well, what do you know? Everything that's happening in your life is happening because of what you know. As I said a number of weeks ago, it's all mental. There's nothing that is in your life today that isn't a representation of what you know. Ernest Holmes says, the road to freedom lies through the intelligent use of your mind. The operative word there is intelligent. The road to freedom lies through the intelligent use of your mind. So, are you using your mind intelligently? Well, bless you. Well, the answer to that is, what do you know? If what you know is spiritual truth, spiritual logic, then you are using your mind intelligently. If what you know isn't spiritual truth or spiritual logic, then you are not using your mind intelligently. You are most likely using your mind reactively. How often do we use our minds by reacting to what's coming at us? By reacting to what we're going through? So I ask you today, what do you know that perhaps you shouldn't know? And there's some of the work we have before us. What do I know that I need to take some time unknowing? Some people are much more familiar with their limitations than they are with what created those limitations. Some people are so clear on what's wrong with their life, and yet what's right with their life is what created what's wrong with their life. So the question today is, and the answer you will have, I hope, is that the question is, what do I focus on? What do I know? And the answer must be, I need to start knowing the spiritual truth. I spoke to someone this week who, we were talking about money and finances, and I asked this person, how much money do you make? And this person said to me, well, I make this. And it was said with an energy of, this is how much money I make. And then when I said, well, how much are your bills? The answer was, oh my God, they're like... And I just pointed out, and I point this out for you today because as this was pointed out in that moment, it has come with me throughout the rest of the week to understand how we use our minds. The very energy that is in the lack is so much more palpable and powerful than the energy that is with the what I have, that you have to understand that is the balance of life that's showing up. So for you today, when I say, well, what do you know? In something like finances, it's just very simple to ask yourself, what do you think about what you have, and what do you think about what you don't have? Which one is more dramatic? Most people have much more fun with what they don't have. It's just so much more dramatic. Isn't it? Oh my God, I will never be able to pay my bills. It's much better than, I just got a few dollars. I mean, it's really true. So the question, what do you know, isn't just a cute little phrase, well, what do you know? It's actually imperative for you to understand what you know. So, as Doug said, I'm going to teach The Exquisite Risk. And this was a book that Michelle Roberts gave me. And I started reading it, and it really has been a remarkable read. And the book is called The Exquisite Risk by Mark Nepo, and it's a journey to your authentic self. When I ask myself, what do I know? If I back everything I know up to something that is the most primal, most important thing in the world for me to know, it has to be that I know who I am. Because if I know I'm God, it's kind of hard for me to think lack. It's kind of hard for me to think, mental blockage. It's kind of hard for me to think disease. If I know that who I am and I know I'm God, it's kind of hard for me to think that my life is not working perfectly. It's kind of hard for me to think that there's a road that's wrong for me. If I know who I am. So Mark Nepo's book, The Exquisite Risk, is really about taking the risk to actually find out who you really are, which means you have to be willing to go through all of the neighborhoods of what you are not. So I have a little piece from his book to read for you today. He says this, as a young man, I set out to be a poet. This was the glass that I poured my essence into. It was the identity that carried me through great seas of doubt. But the crucible of life broke that glass. And I deeply feared I had lost all of who I am. But it wasn't true. For me, the water of me filled a wider glass that I can only call my sense of being. The song that Barbara and Paul sang, Down a Different Road. Many of us, and I know from talking to many of you, feel that life isn't exactly where we want it to be, and that the road we're on may possibly not be the exact road we're on. And some people feel that they are relegated to that road because of experience, because of circumstances. And yet what Mark Nepo says in this book, The Exquisite Risk, is, are you willing to let your life break open inside of you? Are you willing to shatter this comfortable glass that surrounds you? Are you willing to allow yourself to just be broken open and understand that the water that is your life, and I love how he puts this, the water that is your life, as the container is cracked wide open, the water falls into a bigger container. And that the cracking, and that the breakage, and that the new road is actually just you stepping into a larger understanding of who you are. So that's a what do you know? Do you know that when something shows up as a challenge, that your life is unfolding perfectly anyway? Even in the face of? Yesterday on boot camp, we talked about authority. Are you the authority of your life, or do you give your authority over to the circumstances of your life and then react? I woke up yesterday morning with a very big challenge in my mind and a very big decision to make. And as I was going through the challenge and going through the decision, I realized that the challenge was actually dictating the decision. And I went, oh my God, OMG. I just finished CPR talking about authority, and I am about to give my authority away to the situation, to the circumstances. Even I can have that happen. Unbelievable. So, because I talk to myself like that, like, really, James? Go to the mirror, take a look at that bumblebee. Right? So, and then I said, wait a minute, who's got the authority here? I do. And I made a completely different decision. Completely different, diametrically opposed to the decision I was about to make. And then I took that decision and stepped into it. I didn't say I'm going to make a decision and see how it turns out. I said, I'm going to make this decision and I will step into it and evolve it perfectly because my life is unfolding perfectly. What do you know? That's what I know. How can I make decisions and pretend I don't know what I know? Because if I make a decision and pretend I don't know what I know, then I really don't know what I know. I don't know it. I will go back and listen to that and see what I said. So I want to go on. This is what Mark Nepo says in the rest of this paragraph. He says, the truth is, the same thing happened to me emotionally. I tried for so long to be the good Mark, only to have that glass crack, letting the water of my heart fill a deeper glass, and I can only call it the authentic Mark. I love the concept of breaking the mold on what really is the good James. You know, I love the idea that I can just shatter all expectations of who I'm supposed to be on this planet. Just break the hell out of it and then allow it to be something even better or bigger or wider or even just different. And that's what he's saying. Be fearless. Take the risk of breaking the mold and understand that as you break the mold, the only thing that falls away is the mold, not the stuff that's in it, because the stuff that's in it is God. So how much of your life are you cracking open right now? How much of your life are you allowing to actually redefine you? How much of your life are you allowing to show you a different road? And how much of you is willing to go down that road? To turn away from what you think you know and take another road, take another stab, take another choice, make another choice. Be willing. What do you know? So, one thing I want to talk about is people who see another road before them and all they see is a dead end. I have to tell you this, there is no such thing as a dead end. If you are on a road and you feel like you're on a road that's a dead end, someone said to me this week, I have a job that's a dead end, and I said, why on earth are you keeping that job? And they said, well, because it's a job. I said, but it's a dead end. They said, but it's a job. We could have gone on for hours like that. So, are you in a dead-end job? Are you in a dead-end relationship? Are you in a dead-end mind state of life? If you are, get out of it. Or as Bob Newhart says, stop it. Oh, let's all do that together. Stop it. Just stop it. I love that. I love that he's so well known now for that one little clip. Ralph Waldo Emerson writes, write it on your heart that every day is the best day of the year. Write it on your heart that every day is the best day of the year. Today is the perfect day for you to know and to decide that there's something in you that knows exactly what it wants you to be, what it wants you to do. What you are knowing right now, and this is the absolute spiritual truth, What you are knowing right now determines what today will become for you. What you are knowing about this day determines exactly how it's going to turn out. What you are knowing most of the time determines exactly how your life is going to play out. So, it's a really important question. So what do you know? I've had a very busy few weeks. And when I woke up this morning and the sun was shining and it was just this so beautiful, you know I live in a glass treehouse. So every window was just streaking with light. And as I went to reach for my beautiful coveralls, for my eyes, to get the sun out of my eyes, and then these really puffy, beautiful lavender things that really does bespeak who I am, I went to put it on, and before putting it on, I went, why do I really want to cover up the light? Clearly, I'm not going back to sleep. I have too much to do today. And I put it down on my pillow, and I just sat there, laid there, and watched the sunlight coming in. And I thought to myself, what do you know about today? And my mind instantly raced to, okay, you got to do CPR, you got to do church, then you got to have a board meeting, you have a rehearsal with the cast, you got to watch the show, you got to take notes, and then it just was like, in one instant, I went from the sun is shining to, oh my God! Anybody else have that happen? You can be just walking along, it's lovely day, but I have to do this. And it's like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, unbelievable. So, I just stopped, I took a deep breath, and I said, well, what do you know? And I realized that I said, I know that every single thing I'm going to do today, I want to do. I planned it. No, but you got to remind yourself that sometimes. You planned your life. Even if you agree to things you don't want to do, you agree to them. Right? So you planned your life. And I'm like, I want to do everything I'm doing today. So, I just said, do them one at a time, James. Doing them all together at the same time helps no one. And really doesn't help you. So, what do you know? What do you know? Here's what I know. I know that there is something inside each and every person in this room today. I know that there is some positive understanding of who and what you are. I know that God never, ever puts roads before us that are not for our greatest good. It just depends on which greatest good you're going to decide. So it's not this one's right, this one's wrong. It's within you to know that every single moment of your life is ripe with the ability to know the truth, that your life is unfolding perfectly, that you are always given the opportunity to choose the greatest path for yourself. It is always okay to jump from this road to that road when you decide that's what I need to do because there's something in you telling you to do it. There is something in you. There is a power for good, not only in the universe, but in you. And it is yours to use, and you are using it whether you know it or not. So I say it is time for us to use it on purpose, with purpose, as purpose, because when we ask ourselves, what do I know? What do you know? I know that I am God. And as God, nothing can ever come into my purview that derails me, because I am, as Francesca said, I am that which is source. I decide. You decide. We decide. So I want to leave you the way I started today, which is to say to you, what do you know? Now answer that question today and watch how your life unfolds. Namaste. Whew. Thank you. Whew. Okay.